This is the Isaac lab that Nvidia built to torture robots in the Omniverse digital twin, and this is when you might start getting confused. Don't get me wrong, I understand the premise. Simulate tons of events in order to shape real-world results. I've done a little bit of this myself.
I'm quirky.
But I'm also incredibly confused by the world of Nvidia.
Welcome to the stage, Nvidia founder and CEO, Jensen.
This is one of the most valuable companies in the world, worth trillions, yet it's relatively opaque compared to the other big tech companies. Microsoft, they made Microsoft Bob. Amazon, they send me the chopsticks I used to eat chips. Google, they answer big questions. But Nvidia does video games? Maybe Nvidios? The jargon here does not help.
CAE, EDA, 30 SDA, billion, quadrille chip, NVLink, Isaac perceptor humanoid robot called Thor. God, I love Nvidia.
I have spent the past month learning why Nvidia is worth so much and what it actually does, and I want you to take all the techno jargon and throw it out. We are gonna learn just 3 words that you can use as lenses to understand why Nvidia has become a juggernaut.
Thank you.
The first word you need to know is fabless.
In our silicon integrated circuit.
In fabless, the fab is fabrication, making the things. But Nvidia is a fabless company. So scenes like this, they're, well, irrelevant, which can be kind of confusing. After all, the silicon in Silicon Valley is making these chips with stuff like a
Diamond point in a scribing machine.
AMD CEO, Jerry Sanders, he was even famous for actually saying, real men have fabs.
Here, in the world's most advanced manufacturing environment.
And my brain is stamped with this old 1997 commercial for Intel. Crazy suits, super precise chip making. Then they start dancing, but that's just, the commercial. But around the 1980s, a new fabless model emerged, led by the company TSMC in Taiwan. Companies design chips, they go into these super factories, and chips come out. These TSMC photos from today show you just how complex it can get. These foundries are a new path for the chip industry. In April 1993, 3 guys met in a Denny's in San Jose to found a fabless company. Originally, they weren't with TSMC, but later they were. Nvidia is what they come up with. It's NV for next version, mixed with Nvidia, Latin for envious. You can see that the naming issues are there from the beginning. Jensen is the CEO now. He's the guy that you need to know today.
Algorithms, computer architecture, mathematics.
The Nvidia group saw that graphics were getting more complicated and they wanted to build an additional card that you could slot into your computer to supercharge 3D images. Now, if you're like me, you're wondering at this point, hey, what is Nvidia doing during all this? I mean, if it's fabless, what's the point of them? That is why I want to show you a chip. I told you this would not get technical. I had not looked at a chip in this before. This is sick. I had only looked at like pieces of paper before. So on TSMC's side, this stuff is incredibly complex. Imagine putting every single grain of salt on this chip, and you get a figment of an idea of how hard this stuff is. On the Nvidia side, they have to have a perfect design to hand over, or the chip is useless. And we're talking about something that is actually way, way, way easier than what they do with silicon chips. So you can see why fabless makes sense. It lets each side do their job. Though that single chip order can cost millions to start. But I think this sets the orientation for Nvidia throughout the 90s as a graphics company. In the late 90s, Nvidia was even running out of money. So they went even more fabless. They emulated the chip in a computer. They simulated what it would work like and printed it without seeing the final copy in person. This had big benefits. It saved them money, and it also got them far ahead in their production cycle. So Nvidia was a fully fabless company. This was beneficial because the cost of building a fab was rapidly climbing. Eventually, those economics meant the industry caught up. Even real men have fabs AMD swallowed its pride and spun off chip companies. Today, Nvidia even tries to build software that will help them make better chips.
We're accelerating computational lithography, one of the most important applications that nobody's ever known about. In order to make chips, we have to push lithography to the limit.
But in the 2000s, Nvidia had to build a moat.
I received my PhD from Stanford in 2004.
This is from a very early video on Nvidia's YouTube channel, and this guy, he is very important.
Basically, my research at Stanford was looking at general purpose programming models for GPUs and trying to understand how we could use these processors for things other than games and graphics.
In 1999, Nvidia started saying their graphics cards were GPUs, graphics processing units, cousins to CPUs. But that's not the word I want you to learn. A CPU does complex problems in order. GPUs do this special thing. A GPU can solve simpler problems in parallel. You can probably see why this is good for graphics. There are lots of individual pixels on a screen. But our friend Ian and Nvidia thought that it might be good for other stuff. That's where CUDA came in, around 2006. CUDA was originally Compute Unified Device Architecture. If you go on Nvidia's YouTube page, you'll see that it was this niche thing in the beginning. Something for scientists.
We're really interested in seeing if we can bring different types of physics onto the card.
But Nvidia knew the potential of what they were doing. In their 2007 annual report, they said, am I just gonna hold these the whole time? I think I'm just gonna hold these the whole segment. It feels kind of nice. With CUDA-enabled GPUs, engineers and scientists will be able to harness programmable GPUs in PCs to solve mathematically intensive problems that were previously cost prohibitive. The idea is that they will let anybody get really close to the GPU to tap all that power directly. You just have to do it on Nvidia GPUs. I am an artist. Imagine the iMessage blue bubble, green bubble divide, but imagine the messages got there faster and more efficiently. That is kind of like CUDA. They start building CUDA and libraries for it. Just look at this list of vocabulary that you don't have to learn. But we are talking everything from partners doing ocean simulation to computer vision today. By their 2012 annual report, Nvidia was boasting that GPU supercomputers are becoming more common, and it continues today.
Your infrastructure is CUDA GPUs.
But it's what else happens in that year, in 2012, the third word that you need to know, that makes the difference. I'm gonna put these down now. Nvidia is fabless, it is CUDA, and it is ALEXNET. It's not data centers or NVLink or AI, and there's a reason for that. This word helps you understand how Nvidia went from this kind of party
Your first LAN party? Oh, hell no.
to this kind of party.
This is not a concert. You have arrived at a developers conference.
In the early 2000s, a competition called ImageNet began. The idea was to have computers face off at recognizing images. In 2012, a program known as ALEXNET, named for Alex Krizhevsky, dominated, and it was written using a very efficient GPU implementation on Nvidia hardware. This had been done a bit before, but this paper kind of set a new paradigm, that GPUs could make AI a big, big thing.
These frameworks are of vital importance to the development and the acceleration of AI. We work hard to put CUDA underneath every single one of them.
If you added more pens, more GPUs, you got more AI. So they said pretty quickly that the AI race was on. In 2016, they gave OpenAI a supercomputer.
Our strategy is to accelerate deep learning everywhere, for every platform, for every market, for every single industry.
They bought companies to help them with data transmission, to string more and more GPUs together. Nvidia is all about making really good, big GPUs and connecting them so they can talk to each other really quickly. Their amazing year in AI is all the way back in 2016, way before a lot of the breakthroughs that we identify with AI today. The crypto boom, a similarly parallel computing task, was actually kind of a distraction from their AI obsession. As AI became an all-purpose buzzword, Nvidia became the backbone of that.
And so we are effectively an AI foundry. We will do for you and the industry on AI what TSMC does for us building chips.
But will it work? I don't know. I mean, Nvidia is a long way from being just a graphics card company, but the world is changing really quick. The bull and the bear case, they seem to hinge on how big a deal you think the CUDA moat and AI even will be in the future. There are also a lot of incentives to break Nvidia's grip on AI through alliances. Fabless even has a whole geopolitical risk. It's described in books like Chip War. People are starting to freak out that only a few companies are making the computer chips the whole world uses. But that fabless model, it remains core to Nvidia. But at the same time, that CUDA moat, it's pretty big, and if you think AI will eat the world, then Nvidia will get a world-sized fortune.
$100 trillion of the world's industries is represented in this room today. This is absolutely amazing.
What I do know is that these three words are a pretty good lens to understand almost any of the tricky sci-fi vocabulary on Nvidia's YouTube page. Digital twins. This is just the fabless universe emulating everything. Okay, this one here is crazy, but the NIMs and generative workflow are really just Nvidia trying to build a new moat, like CUDA, and using AI, like ALEXNET. Even those crazy trained robots, it's just a fabless simulation done on top of CUDA and new CUDA-like platforms using AI. But the real test, is it worth it? Depends on where you think the future will go. I don't know the answer to that, but it'll be fun to watch. How do I escape this prison? You're not going anywhere. You work for me. Smash that like button.